But given that I was going to be up here on this stage, I decided it would be a good time to read the session description. So I actually went through and read, and I do applaud the organizers because I think they hit on something that's very important to all of us. I pulled this sentence out and dropped it in there. And what they're saying is solutions and systems integration and how they're going to, this is going to be a dominating trend over the next 5 years. And I think that is really important. And the importance of that has been driven home to me recently. If you look at many of us across the industry, we've been in an evolutionary trend over the past few years where we're moving from point products, whether they be a GPS receiver or a single license of a desktop GIS, we're moving from these point products over to solutions. And when I define solutions, I'm referring to them as combinations of hardware, software as a service, content which people up here will present about, wrapping all that together with professional services. That's really what I refer to as solutions. And you say, okay, that's great. That's what the industry is doing. You guys are moving to solutions. How does this matter to our customers? And again, helping them with the question of where is the money? So I've recently had 2 visits with 2 different customers, and they drove home the importance of this topic. The first customer I visited was a very small surveying firm in Northern California, and they're experiencing great growth. However, they are bounded by a box, which is their territory in which they operate. And they've said to me, what is the future? Not for us right now, because things are going well, but what is the future for our families after us? What's the next generation? Where's the money going to be for them? And I think this is a question we need to help them answer. Again, I applaud them for asking it now as opposed to when they actually have a problem. The second customer I visited was actually a very large multinational surveying firm, and they have a different situation. They are not experiencing growth. They're in a situation where commodities are taking a big impact on their organization, and they're looking also at where is the money. Where is their future growth going to come from? How are they going to re-engage growth? How are they going to get their billable hours back up? So again, we're looking at solutions from those 2 areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 2 areas around solutions. I'm going to talk about the evolution of these solutions to address these trends. The other thing I'm going to talk about is the role of cloud computing in field to office. Because the key thing about cloud computing is it has the ability to both speed up getting to deliverables and getting customers the answers they need, and also allowing for a lot of quality control in the process. The industry trends I talked about, I'm going to hit on both of these in detail, so I'm just going to hit this quickly. I think the first thing that's happening is these firms are going to have to diversify. Typically, what they've done is they've done boundary surveys, they've done construction stakeout, they might have done seismic exploration. In a time in which construction technology is replacing the as-built, the need for the stakeout, you've actually got to find new things to do. In the places where seismic exploration is no longer a big part of their business, what is it that's going to fill in that gap? And what these companies are turning to are things like mobile mapping, airborne data capture. The second thing that's happening is these companies are moving more and more into vertical market activities. I'll talk a little bit about that. First, I'm going to jump into the other services that these companies are starting to offer to, again, find their future growth. Some of these we've just seen in the very impressive videos that were shown in the Bentley presentation. I think Bhupinder went through many of these already, but I think it's key for you to see that the mobile mapping and the airborne systems, those are future growth areas. Those are future business opportunities for existing surveying and mapping firms today. This shows them a place where they can move into to actually increase their revenue and increase their growth. Mining industry, oil and gas, as well as planning, many other industries are now coming to these surveying and mapping firms and are saying, we want to do this. Usually when I'm in visiting a customer, they ask me questions about our technology and, what's our warranty, things like this. I was actually kind of thrown, a couple weeks ago I was in Seattle, and a customer looked across the table at me and said, what skills do our surveyors need in the future? And And this is a question that I wasn't fully ready for, and I thought about it a lot, and he and I have exchanged emails since then. These are the kind of skills that the surveyors of the future are going to need. They're going to need to be able to work on data capture, data management. They're going to need to how to bring all this data back and get answers for their customers, and I think that's really important. I think the ability to get answers out of data is something that I think is extremely important for all of us, and we collectively have got to move in this direction. Something I stress with my team quite often is that our customers don't want point clouds. Our customers want answers. And this was driven home to me one time when I was in visiting a large railway, and one of the sales guys I was sitting next to was talking about the number of points that we could generate and the size of the point cloud and the density and things like that. And I realized this guy only cared if his train was going to hit the bridge. And that was the key thing. This is the answer he's looking for, and this is the answer that many of our customers. And when I say customers, I mean both external customers that you may be selling your services to, as well as internal customers that you're serving. Those may be other departments that you're providing your geospatial services to. They have answers they want to get to out of the data that we collect. And I think that's something we can't lose sight of. I've given a couple of examples here, and these are some examples of scanning deliverables and where we can actually go through and say, okay, if we've increased the size of a train, is it still going to make it through the existing infrastructure that we have? Is it going to make it through our tunnels and around our new our structures? If we install new signals, as you see there on the right, is that going to, will our trains still be able to get through? And I think those are the kind of key answers that people are looking for out of the deliverables that we produce. Second thing, I've actually hit on railway as one. The Trimble team's cringing in the back. I spent 4 years managing the railway business at Trimble, so you'll see a bit of heavy on the railway examples, but it's you'll have to indulge me that. Over in the vertical markets, I want to talk about some of the other places that people are moving to actually again answer the question of where's the money. On the left, you'll see this is an as-built survey. This is a customer of ours in Germany doing an as-built survey, traditional project out there. This may be that the GIS department needs to actually know where the track is, or they may be looking to redesign that track. And so they actually need a very accurate, sometimes down to even the millimeters of accuracy to determine where their track is. That's interesting. But then what you can do is if you can take that same technology that many of our customers already have, and then you can take that technology and you can put it into a new workflow, you open up an entire new line of business for them. On the right, those of you who've spent time behind one of those instruments, you'll recognize the robotic total station there. That twin trolley system up there, what that's doing is that's doing pre-measuring for tamping. Any of you who've ever watched this operation, that big machine in the background is a tamping machine which lifts and shifts the track so that you get the nice smooth rail ride you guys are used to here in Europe. That system right there, that tamping operation, I'm told, here in Europe will cost about 5,000 euros per hour. Now the surveyor, who's used to charging several hundred euros per hour, now is part of a cost savings that they can actually take and then help to monetize. And I think that's very important for them as they move forward in this particular example. Second example, multiple commodities around the world have been extremely hard hit. Oil and gas, mining, this is impacting South Africa, Chile, Australia, as well as all of the oil and gas regions, Middle East, United States, where we're having a lot of fracking business, Western Canada. And one of the things that these solutions are doing is typically the surveyor and the mapping professionals have participated in the seismic exploration, maybe the as-built of pipelines. What we're doing now with our technology is we're telling them, you can move downstream all the way to tank safety. This is a simple scan of a tank here. All of this oil and gas that's being pumped out of the ground right now is actually being stored in some tanks which I'm told are up to a decade old and haven't been used. So one of the big concerns for the industry is, can the catchment basins actually contain all of the material that's in those tanks? And this is a chance for our customers to go out, run a scan, run a simple model, and actually go back to their same customers and answer a completely different question. So I think this is another example of our customers moving both upstream and downstream, which also Bapinda mentioned in his presentation. Finally, we can move into completely new industries. Corridor management and corridor mapping is very important. Using UAV technology, airborne LiDAR systems, as well as easy-to-use software for doing image analysis, we now have the ability to go to organizations that are managing corridors, such as utilities, gas line companies, even railways, who want to know if vegetation is encroaching into their right-of-way, into their area where their trains or their pipelines are managed. And we now have the ability to answer more questions for those. These same surveying and mapping companies can now go after new revenue streams. Working with companies like telecommunications companies on the as-built and the status of their infrastructure is also extremely important. And one of the things that excites me is the ability to bring new people into this room. New professionals who we don't consider geospatial professionals. This is an instance of public safety. In some larger police departments, law enforcement organizations, public safety organizations, they may have a surveying instrument. They may have a surveyor. And what I'm told typically happens is there's an accident, and the person with the survey instrument and the survey knowledge is stuck in the traffic jam behind the accident. And the vicious cycle is they can't open the accident until that surveyor gets there to document it. So one of the things we're looking at is how do we move that capability to capture information about that accident or that crime scene into all of the police cars? How do all of those law enforcement or public safety professionals become geospatial professionals so that they're capturing the data that's needed to be able to go to court and to answer the questions about whether it be a crime or an accident scene? Finally, I want to just talk for a little bit about a project that we're in the middle of right now, which is we're taking one of our largest surveying companies, and this has been a company that's typically they've gone out, they've done their survey work, they've done USB or they've done email to get their data back. They eventually bring data back from multiple sources. I mean, they have Trimble instruments, they have instruments from our competitors, they have instruments that all the data is coming in from all over the place. And what they're looking to do is introduce cloud computing into their workflow so that they can standardize on this and speed up the deliverables that their customers get to. So what is the key reason why they're doing this? And the key reason is because they want to go from field to office to their customer. And again, some of those are internal customers, but it goes back to that data capture to an answer. You're going back from taking a photograph in a helicopter to is the Pope going to be safe? Those are the kind of field to office, field to answer questions that we're helping customers answer. And I think that's important. We can't do this without speeding things up through the use of cloud computing. Some of the things we're looking for about this, using field to office workflow via cloud computing, one of the key things is, have we captured the right data before the crew leaves the site? Or before the asset leaves the crew? And what I mean by this is, I've been told by some of the people that we work with, they said, the bulldozers are sitting there getting ready to bury the asset once they've captured it. If they don't get it right, they don't get a second chance. And the ability to know that the data is safely back, not only on their device, but back on a server somewhere, is actually very reassuring to them. The other thing they want to do is they want to actually be able to customize the rules so that the data comes in a standardized form. And then again, tailoring these data models to a particular vertical. The pipelines want to see the data move into a different QA, QC process than perhaps law enforcement would want to. So again, this customer came to us and they said, okay, here's some problems we have. We don't have consistency in our end-to-end workflow. We've got different crews with different gear, different levels of experience across multiple countries. We need to reduce the ability of downtime. They wanted to reduce rework, and they wanted to cut down on crews having to go back out to a site to collect data they didn't have. And then reducing those errors that come along with all of that, as well as being able to connect into the back-end systems. So what we're doing right now is we're working on a project with them, and this project is underway, and the anticipated benefits we're already seeing from them by introducing templates that they can use for collecting their data. We know that the data coming back from the multiple field crews in multiple countries with multiple types of technologies is coming back in a consistent manner. The data is pre-validated. The data is checked against their QA/QC standards in the field. They know they can leave the site because they've got the data they need. Finally, the fact that they're actually getting the data back via the cloud is actually making it much quicker for them to get back the data. And they have multiple stakeholders inside their organization that are actually, that need access to this data. So this is all about improving the efficiency of getting that data back to the customer. So this is a project underway, and given that I gave their session description a very good billing, I hope the organizers will invite me back in 2017. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and tell you how this project turned out. But I think the key things here are this movement to solutions is going to help our customers answer the question of where the money and where their future growth is going to come from, whether it's maintaining the growth or getting back into a cycle of growth. And the efficiency we can do is also going to help out these customers moving forward. Thank you.